Okay, get ready because today we're diving deep
Me too.
into a topic that can seriously upgrade your life.
Self-compassion.
Self-compassion. It's not just about giving yourself a break now and then.
Right.
This is about cultivating a way of thinking and being
Mm.
that can lower your stress,
Yeah.
make you more resilient, and
Absolutely.
even improve your relationships.
What's really fascinating is that our source material suggests self-compassion isn't some sort of magical cure-all,
Right.
but a practice.
Oh, interesting.
A skill you build over time.
Right.
And like any skill, it takes consistent effort.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's not just a one-time thing.
Right.
It's about weaving it into the fabric of your daily life.
Exactly.
And our deep dive today will unpack exactly how to do that.
Okay.
We're going to explore 3 key practices.
Right.
Being kind to yourself instead of critical. Embracing the fact that we're all in this together.
Yeah.
Common humanity.
Yeah.
And practicing mindfulness.
Yeah. You know what really struck me while reviewing these sources?
What's that?
The evidence is really compelling.
Really?
Studies show that people who practice self-compassion actually experience less stress,
Oh, wow.
greater happiness, and even bounce back from setbacks more easily.
It's like giving yourself a superpower.
Absolutely.
Now, let's tackle that first practice.
Okay.
Self-kindness
Okay.
versus self-judgment.
Right.
We all have that inner critic, right?
Oh, yeah.
That voice, that can be pretty harsh sometimes.
It's almost like a default setting for many of us.
Yeah.
But think about how you'd talk to a good friend who is struggling.
Right.
You wouldn't berate them or put them down, would you?
Definitely not. I'd be supportive and understanding.
Exactly. And that's the essence of self-kindness. Treating yourself with the same gentleness and care that you would offer a friend.
Okay.
And that doesn't mean ignoring your mistakes or flaws.
Right.
It's about acknowledging them without the harsh judgment.
One of our sources had this incredible story about a woman who used to be incredibly critical of herself,
Okay.
especially when it came to her work. If she didn't get something perfect on the first try, she'd spiral into negative self-talk.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
But when she started practicing self-compassion,
Interesting.
she learned to reframe her thinking.
How so?
Instead of saying, I'm a failure,
Right.
she'd ask herself,
Yeah.
what can I learn from this?
My
How
God.
can I grow from this experience?
That's such a powerful shift. It's about recognizing that setbacks and mistakes are inevitable.
Right.
And they don't define us.
Absolutely. And this isn't just about major life challenges.
Right.
It's about those everyday moments when you catch yourself being overly critical.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you spill your coffee and instead of muttering, I'm such a klutz,
Yeah.
you try, oops, everyone makes mistakes, time to grab a towel. Yeah.
Those little shifts in perspective can make a huge difference over time.
Right.
It's like retraining your brain to be more supportive and understanding towards yourself.
And our sources suggest that this isn't just a feel-good idea.
Right.
It actually has a tangible impact on our well-being.
Oh, interesting.
Studies have found that self-compassion can reduce anxiety and depression, boost our immune system,
Wow.
and even improve our sleep quality.
It makes sense when you think about it.
Yeah.
When we're constantly beating ourselves up, we create a lot of internal stress.
Right.
But when we practice self-compassion,
Yeah.
we create a safe and supportive internal environment where we can thrive.
It's like creating a sanctuary within yourself.
Absolutely.
So we've talked about the power of self-kindness, but how does this connect to the idea of common humanity?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Self-compassion is not about isolating yourself with positive affirmations.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that you're not alone in your struggles. Everyone makes mistakes, faces challenges, and experiences difficult emotions.
How does that actually help when you're in the thick of it? It's easy to feel like you're the only one going through something tough.
The research suggests that simply reminding yourself that suffering is part of the human experience can be incredibly liberating.
Okay.
Our sources highlighted a study where participants were asked to either focus on their own struggles
Okay.
or on the shared human experience of suffering.
And what did they find?
The group that focused on common humanity actually reported feeling less isolated and more connected to others.
Interesting.
They also experienced less negative emotions, even though their actual circumstances hadn't changed.
It's like shifting your perspective from why me
Right.
to we're all in this together.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that you're part of a larger web of human experience with
Yeah.
all its ups and downs.
Yeah.
And that can be a powerful source of comfort and strength, especially during challenging times.
This resonates with me so much.
Yeah.
It's like when you're having a bad day and
Yeah.
you vent to a friend and they say, oh my gosh, I totally get it. I went through something similar last year.
Yeah.
That shared experience can be incredibly validating.
It's almost like a reminder that you're not broken or flawed.
Right.
You're simply human.
Mm-hmm.
And being human means experiencing a full range of emotions,
Right.
including difficult ones.
So we've explored the first two practices, self-kindness and common humanity.
Right.
But how does mindfulness fit into all of this?
Mindfulness is about paying attention to the present moment without judgment.
Okay.
And that's crucial for cultivating self-compassion
Mm-hmm.
because it helps us become aware of our thoughts and feelings, especially when we're being harsh or critical towards ourselves.
Well, it's like catching yourself in the act of self-sabotage.
Precisely.
Okay.
Mindfulness helps us press pause on that negative self-talk and choose a more compassionate response.
Okay.
And one of the most fascinating things I learned from our sources
Yeah.
is that mindfulness actually changes the way our brains work.
Okay, tell me more about that. How does it actually change our brains?
Well, studies using brain imaging have shown that mindfulness practices can strengthen the areas of the brain associated with self-awareness,
Okay.
emotional regulation,
Mm-hmm.
and compassion.
So the more we practice mindfulness,
Yeah.
the better we become at noticing our thoughts and feelings
Exactly.
without getting swept away by it.
It's like building a muscle.
Okay.
The more we exercise it, the stronger it becomes.
This is giving me so much hope.
Yeah.
It's like we're not stuck with our default settings.
Mm.
We can actually rewire our brains for greater self-compassion.
Absolutely. And that's the beauty of neuroplasticity.
Yeah.
Our brains are constantly changing and adapting based on our experiences.
So we've got the science on our side.
Yeah.
Now, how can our listeners actually start incorporating these practices into their daily lives?
One simple yet powerful technique is something called thought observation.
Okay.
It's a mindfulness exercise that helps you become more aware of your thought patterns,
Okay.
especially those negative ones that can fuel self-criticism.
Okay, walk us through it. I think our listeners are eager to give this a try.
Find a comfortable position.
Hmm.
Close your eyes if you like,
Okay.
and just take a few moments to notice your thoughts as they arise.
Okay.
Don't try to change them or push them away.
Right.
Just observe them as if they were clouds passing by in the sky.
It's like becoming a curious observer of your own mind.
Exactly.
Okay.
And as you observe your thoughts, you might notice that some of them are repetitive, some are judgmental,
Right.
and some are just plain weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
The key is to simply notice them without judgment
Okay.
and let them go.
It's like saying, okay, I see you, thought, but I'm not going to get caught up in your drama.
Precisely.
Okay.
And this simple practice can be incredibly helpful in breaking free from those negative thought patterns
Right.
that can keep us stuck in self-criticism and self-doubt.
This is so fascinating.
Is
It's like we're taking back control of our minds
right.
instead of letting our thoughts control us.
Exactly. And the more we practice mindfulness,
Yeah.
the more we cultivate that sense of awareness and choice in how we respond to our inner experience.
This has been an incredible start to our deep dive into self-compassion.
Mm-hmm.
We've explored the 3 core practices, the science behind it,
Right.
and even tried a simple mindfulness exercise.
Good stuff.
But don't go anywhere.
All right.
In part 2, we'll delve into more practical tips and techniques for cultivating self-compassion in your everyday life.
I'm looking forward to it. Welcome back to our deep dive into self-compassion.
In part 1, we explored the powerful trio
Yeah.
of self-kindness, common humanity, and mindfulness,
Absolutely.
even dipping our toes into the science behind how it all works.
Now let's get practical.
Okay.
I'm excited to share some specific exercises and techniques that you can use to actually bring more self-compassion into your daily life.
Because knowing the theory is great, but putting it into practice
Right.
is where the real magic happens, right?
Absolutely. It's like learning a new recipe.
Right.
You can read all about the ingredients and techniques,
Right.
but until you actually get in the kitchen and start cooking,
Yeah.
you won't experience the delicious results.
So let's get cooking with some self-compassion. Where do we begin?
Let's start with self-kindness.
Okay.
Remember, it's about treating yourself
Yeah.
with the same care and understanding that you would offer a good friend.
Right.
So I want you to think about a situation where you've been really hard on yourself lately.
Okay.
It could be anything. A mistake at work,
Uh-huh.
a challenging interaction with someone,
Right.
or even just feeling overwhelmed by life.
Okay.
Now, Imagine a dear friend coming to you with the same problem.
Yeah.
What would you say to them?
Mm.
How would you comfort and support them?
I'd probably remind them of their strengths,
Uh-huh.
tell them it's okay to make mistakes,
Right.
and that they're not alone in this.
Yeah.
I might even share a similar experience I've had
Yeah.
to help them feel less isolated.
Exactly. And that's the key.
Okay.
Now, here's the challenge.
Okay.
Apply those same words of kindness and encouragement to yourself.
Hmm?
Write them down in a journal or simply repeat them silently in your mind.
Okay.
It might feel a little awkward at first,
Yeah.
but I encourage you to really lean into it.
I love this. It's like flipping the script on our inner critic
Right.
and offering ourselves the same grace we so readily extend to others.
And one of our sources highlighted a study that found that people who wrote self-compassionate letters to themselves
Mm.
actually experienced significant reductions in shame and self-criticism.
Wow. That's pretty compelling.
Yeah.
It's like putting those kind words into action,
Right.
making them tangible.
Exactly. And another powerful practice for cultivating self-kindness
Okay.
is something called positive self-talk. It's about consciously choosing to focus on your strengths and accomplishments. Right.
Instead of dwelling on your perceived flaws.
I think a lot of people struggle with this. We
Yeah.
tend to be our own worst critics.
It's true. But the good news is that with practice, we can train our brains to be more supportive and encouraging.
Right.
One technique I found helpful is to keep a success journal.
Oh, interesting.
It's a place where you record all your wins, big or small.
Wait, so instead of a to-do list, it's a done list. I love that.
Exactly. It could be anything.
It's okay.
Finishing a project at work,
Huh.
tackling a challenging task,
Right.
or even just making a healthy choice.
Okay.
The key is to acknowledge and celebrate
Right.
your efforts and accomplishments.
It's like giving yourself a pat on the back. I'm definitely going to try this.
I hope so.
What else can we do to strengthen that muscle of self-kindness?
Another practice I find really helpful
Yeah.
is to simply be mindful of your self-talk throughout the day.
Okay.
Notice how you speak to yourself.
Especially when you make a mistake or encounter a challenge.
It's about catching those moments of self-criticism
Yeah.
and choosing a kinder, more supportive response.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be a grand gesture. It
Right.
could be as simple as changing, "I'm such an idiot,"
Mhm.
to, "Oops, everyone makes mistakes. What can I learn from this?"
It's about treating yourself with the same gentleness and understanding that
Yeah.
you would offer loved ones.
Precisely. Now, let's shift gears
Yeah.
and talk about embracing common humanity.
Huh?
Remember, this is about recognizing that you're not alone in your struggles.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone makes mistakes, faces challenges, and experiences difficult emotions.
This concept really resonated with me in part one.
Yeah.
It's so easy to feel isolated when we're going through a tough time,
Right.
but remembering that we're all in this together
Yeah.
can be incredibly comforting.
One practice that can help us tap into this sense of common humanity
Okay.
is to simply look around and observe others. Notice that everyone is carrying something,
Right.
even if you can't see it.
Right.
Everyone has their own story, their
Yeah.
own struggles, and their own triumphs.
It's like acknowledging the invisible struggles that
Yeah.
everyone is carrying,
Right.
even the people who seem to have it all together.
Exactly. And that can help us cultivate a sense of empathy and compassion, not just towards others, but towards ourselves as well.
And our sources highlighted some really interesting research
Oh,
on the benefits of embracing common humanity.
okay.
One study found that people who practiced this were less likely to experience shame and self-criticism
Right.
when they made mistakes.
It's almost like we're taking the pressure off ourselves
Yeah.
to be perfect.
Yeah.
And we realize that everyone is imperfect.
Right.
Everyone makes mistakes.
Right.
And everyone faces challenges.
It's so liberating.
It is.
And another study found that people who embraced common humanity were actually more likely to offer support to others who were struggling.
It's like a ripple effect. When we cultivate compassion for ourselves,
Right.
it naturally extends outwards to others.
So we've explored self-kindness and common humanity.
Right.
Now let's dive deep into the realm of mindfulness.
Okay.
What specific practices can we use to bring more present moment awareness into our lives?
One of my favorite mindfulness exercises
Right.
is something called the body scan.
Okay.
It's a wonderful way to reconnect with your body and cultivate a sense of groundedness and presence.
I've heard of this. It's about paying attention to different sensations in your body, right?
Exactly. Find a comfortable position,
Okay.
either sitting or lying down. And close your eyes if you like.
Okay.
Then bring your attention to your breath, noticing the rise and fall of your chest or abdomen
Hey.
as you inhale and exhale.
Okay, I'm with you so far. What's next?
Now, start to shift your attention to different parts of your body, starting with your toes.
Okay.
Notice any sensations you feel.
All right.
Warmth, coolness, tingling, pressure.
Uh,
Or even just the feeling of your toes resting against the floor or your bed.
it's about really tuning into those subtle sensations
Yeah,
that we often overlook.
exactly. And as you move your attention through your body,
Yeah.
try to be as curious and non-judgmental as possible.
Right.
It's not about changing anything or making anything happen.
Okay.
It's simply about noticing what's already there.
It's like becoming a scientist,
Yeah,
exploring the inner landscape of your own body.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
And as you continue to practice the body scan,
Mm-hmm.
you'll likely notice that you become more attuned to your physical sensations,
Right.
which can be incredibly helpful
Yeah.
in managing stress, anxiety, and even pain.
Because we're bringing our attention to the present moment
Right.
instead of getting caught up in our thoughts or worries.
Exactly. And that's the essence of mindfulness,
Mm.
being present with what is. Yeah.
Without judgment.
This practice sounds so grounding and calming.
Yeah.
What other mindfulness techniques can we explore?
Another simple yet powerful practice
Okay.
is something called mindful walking.
Okay.
It's a wonderful way to bring more mindfulness into your everyday activities.
Okay, tell me more. How do we actually do it?
Choose a place where you can walk for a few minutes without distractions.
Okay.
It could be indoors or outdoors.
Hmm.
Then, as you begin walking,
Uh-huh.
pay attention to the sensations of your feet making contact with the ground.
Oh, okay.
Notice the movement of your legs and arms,
Right.
the feeling of the air on your skin,
Right.
and the sounds around you.
It's like turning an ordinary walk into a mini meditation.
Exactly.
Right.
And as with any mindfulness practice,
Right.
if you find your mind wandering,
Yeah.
simply acknowledge those thoughts and gently guide your attention back to the present moment.
It's like training a puppy. We need to be patient and persistent.
Exactly. Mindfulness is a skill that develops over time with consistent practice. And one of our sources mentioned that mindful walking has been shown to reduce stress, improve mood,
Yeah, absolutely.
and even boost creativity.
It's amazing how something as simple as paying attention to our walking
Right.
can have such a profound benefits.
This has been such a rich exploration of mindfulness practices. We've covered the body scan, mindful walking, and even touched on thought observation in part 1.
Yeah.
Now, I'm curious, how can we connect all of these practices together
That's a great question.
to create a more self-compassionate way of being?
And it's really about weaving these practices into the fabric of your daily life.
Okay.
It's not about setting aside hours for meditation or yoga retreats,
Right.
although those can be wonderful complements.
Right.
It's about finding small moments throughout the day to pause, breathe, and reconnect with yourself with kindness and curiosity.
It's like sprinkling those moments of self-compassion throughout our day,
Yeah,
like little acts of self-care.
exactly. And, one of the most beautiful things I learned from our sources
What's that?
is that self-compassion is not a destination. It's a journey.
Okay.
It's an ongoing practice
Right.
of learning to befriend ourselves, to embrace our imperfections,
Right.
and to offer ourselves the same kindness and understanding that we would offer to a loved one.
This has been such an inspiring and practical exploration of self-compassion. I'm already feeling more equipped to bring these practices into my own life.
I hope so.
But don't go anywhere.
All right.
In part 3, we'll tackle some common challenges people face when trying to cultivate self-compassion
Okay.
and share tips for overcoming those obstacles.
Sounds good.
Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into self-compassion.
Yeah.
We've covered so much ground,
Right.
from exploring the core practices
Uh-huh.
to trying out some mindfulness techniques.
Absolutely.
We've even delved into the science behind it all.
Right.
But now, let's get real. Building self-compassion isn't always easy,
No,
and there could be some bumps in the road.
absolutely. And one of the biggest hurdles people face
Yeah.
is that nagging feeling of unworthiness.
Mm.
It's like a voice inside
Right.
that whispers,
Yeah.
"You're not good enough," or "You don't deserve kindness."
I think we've all experienced that at some point.
Yeah,
It can be really hard to practice self-compassion
right.
when you're wrestling with those kinds of thoughts.
One of our sources, a therapist who specializes in self-compassion,
Okay.
shared a powerful analogy.
Oh.
She described it as being like a garden.
Okay.
If you want to grow beautiful flowers,
Yeah,
you need to tend to the soil, remove the weeds, and provide nourishment.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we tend to the soil of our minds
Right.
when those feelings of unworthiness pop up?
The first step is to simply acknowledge them. Don't
Right.
try to push them away or
Oh.
pretend they don't exist.
Hmm.
That just gives them more power. Instead, try to approach them with curiosity and compassion.
Okay.
Ask yourself, where is this feeling coming from? What experiences might have contributed to this belief?
It's like we're becoming investigators of our own minds,
Exactly.
trying to understand the root of these negative beliefs.
And as you explore those beliefs,
Yeah.
try to challenge their validity.
Okay.
Are they really true?
Right.
Are they serving you in any way?
Mm,
Or are they just old stories that you've been carrying around for far too long?
like questioning the evidence.
Right.
Instead of blindly accepting those negative thoughts as facts,
Right.
we're putting them on trial.
Precisely. And another powerful tool for combating feelings of unworthiness
Mm-hmm.
is to practice gratitude.
I've been hearing a lot about gratitude lately,
Yeah.
but I'm curious, how does it actually work
Okay.
to shift those negative beliefs?
Our sources highlighted a study
Go.
that found that people who regularly practiced gratitude actually experienced a decrease in negative emotions
All right.
and an increase in positive emotions.
So it's not just about feeling good in the moment.
Right.
It's about actually rewiring our brains for greater happiness and well-being.
Exactly. And there are so many simple ways
Yeah.
to incorporate gratitude into your daily life.
Okay.
You can keep a gratitude journal,
Uh-huh.
write thank you notes,
Right.
or simply take a few moments each day to reflect on the things you're grateful for.
It's like shifting our focus from what we lack
Right.
to what we have, even if those things seem small or insignificant.
And even in the midst of challenges, there's always something to be grateful for.
Yeah.
Our health, our loved ones, a beautiful sunset, a warm cup of tea.
It's about training our minds to look for the good,
Absolutely.
even when things are tough.
And that can make a world of difference
Right.
in cultivating a more self-compassionate mindset.
Okay. So we've talked about dealing with feelings of unworthiness.
Right.
What other challenges do people face when trying to be more self-compassionate?
Another common obstacle is the fear of being selfish.
Mm-hmm.
We live in a culture that often glorifies self-sacrifice and putting others' needs before our own.
It's like we've been conditioned to believe
Yeah.
that taking care of ourselves is somehow indulgent or wrong.
And that can make it really hard to prioritize self-compassion.
Right.
Especially for those who are naturally giving and caring. But here's the thing.
Okay.
We can't pour from an empty cup.
That's such a powerful image.
Yeah.
If we're constantly giving to others without replenishing our own reserves,
Right.
we're bound to burn out.
Exactly. And that's why self-compassion is so essential.
Right.
It's about recognizing that we deserve the same care and consideration that we give to others.
It's about treating ourselves as we would treat a dear friend
Absolutely.
with kindness, understanding, and support.
And when we prioritize our own well-being,
Yeah.
we're actually better equipped to show up for others in a more authentic and meaningful way.
It's like the oxygen mask on an airplane. You have to put yours on first before you can help others.
I love that analogy. And another helpful reframe for those struggling with the fear of being selfish is to think of self-compassion as a form of self-respect.
So it's not about being narcissistic or self-centered.
Right.
It's about honoring our own needs and boundaries.
Exactly. And remember, self-care is not a luxury. It's a necessity.
It's essential for our mental,
Right.
emotional, and even physical health.
So give yourself permission to prioritize your own well-being.
Okay.
Schedule time for activities that nourish your soul,
Right.
whether it's taking a walk in nature, reading a good book, or simply taking a long, relaxing bath.
And don't feel guilty about it.
Absolutely. Self-compassion is not about perfection.
No.
It's about progress.
It's about being kind to ourselves.
Right.
Even when we stumble or make mistakes.
And remembering that we're all on this journey together.
This has been such an incredible deep dive into self-compassion.
It has.
We've explored the core practices,
Right.
tackled some common challenges,
Yeah.
and even learned a few new techniques to bring more kindness and compassion into our lives.
And as we wrap up,
Yeah.
I want to leave our listeners with one final thought.
Okay.
Remember that you are worthy of compassion, just as you are.
Right.
You don't have to earn it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
You simply have to exist.
That's so beautiful and so true.
So go out there and be kind to yourselves. Treat yourselves with the same care and understanding
Right.
that you would offer to a dear friend.
And remember, the world needs your compassion,
Yes.
and so do you.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into self-compassion.